How's it going? Back again. This will be day 4. Going into Mary as the Ark of the Covenant. Now, this will specifically, we'll go in the next couple days on Mary, on this theme as Mary as the Ark of the Covenant. And these initial threads, honestly, this typology of Mary is what really gets me excited. This one is one of my favorites, and it just really helps resonate with how we should approach Mary, the power of Mary, and it just really shows the divine authorship of God, and that's super exciting to me. The first part that I'm going to draw upon is the Ark of the Covenant, which comes from Exodus. Now, I would best understand this, and because in Exodus, God gives Moses very, very specific directions on what this is to look like. And if you go on Google, you can look on Google Images, and there's some very, very accurate depictions based on the specific directions that Moses received. They're in odd measurement units, like cubits, so it can be a little hard to imagine, but basically it equates to about a rectangular box with winged angels on the top, and then rods that come from the side so that people could carry them. Usually there'd be 4 people, and that would also prevent anyone from specifically touching the ark itself, because that was a direct order from God to not have anyone touch the ark. And so what's significant about where in Exodus, what they tell in or Hebrews 9:14, they show, and there's a good amount of quotes in this one, so I'm actually going off the computer here versus my Bible, but the Ark of the Covenant, interestingly, has a golden pot that was filled with manna. It had the rod of Aaron, who was the high priest, and it had the tables of the stone tablets, let's say, of the 10 Commandments. This is important because Mary comes along, and she is actually the fulfillment of carrying all 3 of these aspects, because Jesus is the new law. And interesting way to think about this is he directly quotes it as when he's talking to the Pharisees. He says, I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. And when we think of the Beatitudes, where he says, if you say you shall not commit adultery, but I tell you, anyone who looks upon a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. And that Jesus Christ, the person of Jesus, has come to not only impose an external law upon us, but he's come to bring a law that is going to change our hearts and that can reform us into an image of God himself. And so that part of Jesus' role as the new law is fulfilling and matching the aspect of the of the 10 Commandments being in the Ark of the Covenant. Next is Jesus as the high priest. He is the one that is our direct mediator to God, and he is the one who offers sacrifice like a priest would, especially in the Old Testament and in the epistemology of the word. It is really someone who makes an offering and acts as a mediator. And Jesus is that perfectly, because he is the perfect offering, and he is in himself, and he's also sinless. So his the thing that he's offering is perfect, and he's the one who offers it is perfect. And so then that corresponds to the second aspect that's of what's in the Ark of the Covenant. And then the third aspect is the manna that's in the Ark corresponds with Jesus in the Eucharist. And Jesus says, I am the bread of life. As we know as you may or may not know, in the John 6 discourse, where he tells, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you shall have no life within you. All 3 of these, put into context, point to mirror the Ark, which hosts the law, which hosts the Eucharist, the law, the manna, and the priesthood. All of that is symbolically a type of Mary that she fulfills and exceeds because she holds Jesus Christ in her womb in the same way that the ark held those three aspects inside of it. Then the really powerful connection is if we go to the Annunciation, which is in Luke's first gospel, and where the angel Gabriel comes to visit Mary, and she tells her that she will bear a son. And picking up from 30, actually Luke 1:28. And he came to her and said, Hail, O favored one, the Lord is with you. But she was greatly troubled at the saying, and considered in her mind what sort of greeting this might be. And the angel said to her, Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord will give to him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end. And Mary said to the angel, How can this be, since I have no husband? And the angel said to her, The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, your kinswoman Elizabeth in her old age has conceived a son, and this is the 6th month with her who was called barren. For with God nothing will be impossible. And Mary said, Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done to me according to your word. And the angel departed from her. Now, end quote. Now, a super interesting thing is that in Exodus, when the ark was first created, there would be a pillar of a cloud that would hover around the ark, and it would direct the tribe of Israel for where to go. And it would specifically, when Moses would go in to pray in the tent of meeting, which the Ark of the Covenant is held within, and you'd go inside the tent, and then you would go inside another further aspect to go right to the ark. And on the ark, he would put incense, and he would speak to God there. And the verb in Greek that they use to describe how the cloud would come over the ark and come over the tent of meeting, this overshadow, is actually the same word in Greek that is used here in the Annunciation, where it says, And the power of the Most High will overshadow you. And now that's a very interesting connection, isn't it? Is that the same overshadow, the same denotion for God's presence is used in both situations, which is just super neat. Now you may ask, really, what are the implications of this? And I asked myself that. And what I really was thinking about is that in a simple way, this is a conceptual defense for those who say, oh, Catholics worship Mary. Because you can clearly look at the Ark of the Covenant and say this is not something that the Israelites worship. God specifically gave them the direction not to worship idols, to not worship created things. And they already failed in that. They already made a golden calf, and God rebuked them for it and punished them for it. But then instead he gave them this ark. And so it is not a thing that they're itself worshiping, but it is their means to approach God. And it is a symbol for which God will come then to dwell. And so in this way, Catholics approach Mary in the same way, that they know it's just, in a certain sense, just like Mary. She's a creature. It's just a box. But it's the presence of God is there. And God has a special connection and love for that specific place. And even more would he for Mary, who's his mother, versus just this golden and very decorated and delicate ark. Secondly is that Moses goes to speak to God at the ark, and specifically at the mercy seat of the ark, which, if you look up a picture, is the top part of the ark where the two angels' wings connect. So it's kind of like this, and then there's an angel here and an angel here, and their wings will almost connect and touch. And this is the point where this is the place that Moses goes to talk to God. And in the same way, or similarly, Mary is the spot where we receive grace from God. She is known in the church as the mediatrix of all grace. And by approaching her, we are more assured to find the Father, to find favor with him, and to talk with him. And then lastly, as a bit of a word of encouragement, there's another version of the Annunciation which applies to to Joseph in Matthew's Gospel, and it's a simple direction, but it is something that we should all take to heart, and that I would encourage, especially anyone who has a little hesitancy with a Marian devotion, or who's looking to understand her more. And as I've come to learn, still realize how much there is out there to learn and to give Mary. But the angel Gabriel says to Joseph, "Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary your wife, for that which is conceived of her is of the Holy Spirit." So the angel Gabriel directs us too in that same way. He says, "Do not be afraid to take Mary into your home. Do not be afraid." The power and presence and favor of God is with her. The presence of God is with her, and we can only grow closer to God by respecting that, by dwelling in that, and by growing in that. And so, look forward to the next episode. We'll go further into the Ark of the Covenant, and this time picking up on the visitation.